You are my everything. You know that wonderful song, You Are My Everything, might be why throughout the scripture he kept talking about, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. That pretty much compasses everything. I'm at the start and I'm at the ending. That's everything. So wherever you are and whatever you're dealing with, he's over everything. The Bible said he has been set on high and all things have been put under his feet. All things are under the feet of the Lord. You can go back to your chair. Thank y'all. I needed y'all today to give that great message and song. So many. I know you probably don't tell the music team how much you appreciate them, but you know, it's like our great sound people running all that back there. My goodness. The only time the sound men ever hear from anybody is when somebody don't like it. Man, it was too loud. Something was too high, something was too low, you know. But you know, when you sit there and you hear this and you think, man, how blessed we really are. Thank you. That's not for me, but one of the big things in the end time, the Bible said they would be unthankful. We like to preach about them being unholy, but before that is unthankful. I don't want to be numbered with the unthankful. We're living in a generation that they're not thankful for anything. They're really not. They're entitled to it. They take it for granted. Somebody gave me a gift card the other day so I could have my breakfast at the Toasted Yolk with the men, some of the guys that we met yesterday, and great Royalwood guys. We had a great time. This is always such a good time to be able to interact, get to know people better. At Toasted Yolk, I didn't realize that people drink in the morning. Mimosas. I had to look it up. Sounded like a place over in Tahiti. Y'all going to mimosa? But there were people sitting around the bar already drinking. They don't have a problem. It's at 9 in the morning, 8. But we didn't need it for laughter. We laughed and cut up, had fun, and it was a blessed thing. But I just think sometimes that when we get little things and stuff happens to us, and the big stuff, we're always appreciative of it, but the Lord said just a cup of cold water. Here you go. If you give somebody that, there'll be a reward in that. But if you're thirsty and somebody gives you a cup of cold water, man, it comes with a bunch of thank yous. Man, thank you. Thank you for handling that. I just want to always make sure I'm thankful for all the stuff that goes on and a lot of hard work and prayer and just fits right in. Our youth were in a Move the Mission closeout rally, and I heard all about it from Friday night. Then I also heard about the fact that the length of the preaching, and I'm not going to tell you how long it was. Just made me feel like that maybe I'm shortchanging you. Yeah, you hear this? Got about 3 laughs. There was one there. My wife laughed, and somebody over there laughed. No, you go just the right. It's just right, Pastor. Your time that you preach is just right. Pastor, you know the story of Goldilocks going in and just right. It was all just right. But I don't know, maybe I do have a lot more things to say when I conclude. But there's sometimes when I feel like I've got a lot more to say, then the Lord just opens the cloud and I see the runway, and I just don't feel like at that moment that I need to just kind of circle around the airport for a while and get everything else said. If this is where we're landing, then let's land it. And so it may be more. If it's a good message, you just keep going. But if then it doesn't take long. So I don't know what it'll be. maybe it'll be like, don't stop, or how long? But I don't think I'll be long. 2 Kings, the 3rd chapter, verse 14. Good to have Jeremy and Emily and the family with us, and the Slaughters are with us, and we're excited about that. I wish they were coming to see us, but I know the better than that. They got their family here, and it's so good to have them always, and blessed to have them. The other part of the Foster family are in Oklahoma now, but they're going to be back with us by the weekend. I can't wait to see them. It's been like forever since we've been able to see them. This coming Wednesday night, Brother Tim Marshall is going to be preaching right here, so you don't want to miss out on that. If you've never heard Tim Marshall, you have. Man, listen, you're in for a treat. You're going to be right here, so don't miss out on that Wednesday night. Midweek matters. It really does. 2 Kings, the 3rd chapter. I know you're saying, I thought you was going to get through, and yes, I am. 2 Kings 3:14. And Elisha said, as the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look toward you. Now, I'm going to have to explain that in just a minute, but I won't do it now. I wouldn't even see you if it wasn't for Jehoshaphat. Now, bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass. Now, this was somebody that played on the harp, but they didn't just play songs. They actually would sing with an instrument, and that's what he was asking for. And it came to pass when the minstrel played that the hand of the Lord came upon him, and he said, thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. For thus saith the Lord, you shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain, yet that valley shall be filled with water, that you may drink, both you and your cattle and your beast. And this is but a light thing. Everybody say a light thing. We think everything God's doing is a heavy thing. But he said, this miracle is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. And he will deliver the Moabites also into your hand. And you shall smite every fenced city and every choice city. And you shall fell every good tree and stop all the wells of water and bar every good piece of land with stones. And it shall come to pass that in the morning, or it came to pass that in the morning when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. I'm going to talk to you just for a little bit about preparing for the promise. Preparing for the promise. Now, I want you to do something. I want you to turn to somebody and say, get prepared for the promise. Okay, now turn to somebody else. There you go. And then you can sit down. I know everybody doesn't understand Bible stories. I don't understand all Bible stories. Sometimes they get a little complicated. And thank goodness we have Bible Hub and all that, where we can get all the different versions and the Message version and all of them. And they kind of, well, oh, now I understand what they were saying. But let me just tell you this story real quickly. These 3 kings decided to get together, and they were going to go against the Moabites. And they all agreed this is what we were going to do. Nobody inquired of the Lord how to do it. Nobody inquired of the Lord what to do. They just made a plan. I mean, after all, they were generals. They were kings. They knew what to do. They were fighting men. And they said, well, how are we going to get to them? They said, we got a 7-day journey here. We're going to go straight to it. We're going to take the Moabites, and if we'll all join together. Jehoshaphat was one of them. He was the king of Judah, and he said, I'll go with you. And they said, here we go. Well, they get out. Now, they could travel about 25, maybe 30 miles marching per day. So 7 days journey, we'll tell you how far it was. It was a good distance away. They had to get there. Somewhere along the line in the journey, somebody said, we're running out of the water supply. Did anybody think about the truck that was going to supply the water, the wagons that were going to supply that? Because they're taking all their supplies with them. They've got herds, and they've got, because they got to slaughter and they got to eat. They got to be able to do this. We're talking about a massive army. But nobody thought about something that's so essential, and that's water. And they get out there, these smart kings that have generals that know how to win battles didn't know how to win the war of water. They didn't have it. And they're in a desperate situation. If sometimes you can get to a place where you can't go back because you don't have enough to get there, and you don't have enough to go forward. So you might as well everybody just sit down. Let's just die, because We're out. This is it. And somebody said, well, is there any prophet of God? Is there anybody we can inquire of? Let me just stop and just tell you this here. This is where they missed. This is the important part. They should have talked to the man of God first. They should have asked him the first thing. Remember David got the ephod and inquired of the Lord, Lord, what do you want me to do here at Ziklag? Should I go chase after them, or should I just let it go? And the Lord said, by all means, go after them and you're going to recover everything. Because when the Lord gives you direction, then you're not going to get out there and fall short. But they never thought about that. But now they're in a desperate situation. And thankfully, we were singing about it today, about the mercy of the Lord. This good mercy of God was going to be spoken through this prophet Elisha. So somebody said, well, there's Elisha. He used to run water over the prophet Elijah's hands, and let's go inquire of him. So they all go in there. These kings are here among the prophet Elijah. And they're asking him, listen, we've got a problem here. We don't have water, and we really need to know how, if the Lord can help us, because we think that we've all come together, these three armies, and God's brought us together to deliver us in the hands of the Moabites. And Elisha looked at him and said, now I'm going to tell you, you other two guys, I wouldn't even look at you. I would not even regard you. Now, first of all, they're in a place where they could have him killed in a moment. That takes some guts. Maybe say gall, what's a clean word? Courage, or maybe just insanity. But when he said, I wouldn't even look at you, that takes 2 gallbladders. That's a lot of gall. And then he said, but Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, that had been anointed of God, because he's here, I'm going to answer you. What do you want? Well, we don't have water. He said, bring me a minstrel. And so the minstrel began to play. And when that happened, the Spirit of the Lord, the hand of the Lord came on him. Listen, this is not wasted motion. This up here is not for entertainment. We know it's to worship the Lord. But one of the things the prophet knew, he was upset by the fact that 2 guys that had been in idol worship, because if you read it, go back just a few verses, and he says, listen, why don't you go ask the false prophets that y'all used to worship and your father used to worship. Go inquire them. Quit asking the Lord for something. Go inquire them. He was upset, and he knew he couldn't hear from God with all the stuff in his head and in his heart. He needed to get to a place where where God could talk to him for a minute. When we come to church, this is our opportunity to get stuff out of our minds and out of our heart and get prepared for the hand of the Lord to be on us. Somebody shout hallelujah. And so the minstrel began to play, and the hand of the Lord came on him, and oh man, this was something else. And when that happened, this is what the Lord said. Thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. Now, I'm just trying to reason this out in my head. You're already in a low place. You're in the valley. And then the prophet's saying, go lower. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We're here. This is as low as you get. We're in the valley. No. You got to make the valley full of ditches. You know, when I was growing up, and they would talk about getting an education, they'd always say, well, you don't want to grow up and just be a ditch digger. Now, I don't know if that'd be a bad thing or not, because they got those air-conditioned cabs, and they got the ditch witch, you know, and all that. You just sit up there and run the controls, you know. I don't know if that'd be all that terrible, you know. But back then, what they were meaning is the shovel. Get the shovel, the spade, the pick. Man, that was hard work. I'm glad I don't work outside every day doing that. Little guy was up here pulling all the weeds. Our little yard service was pulling all the weeds in those flower beds when I came up yesterday, I guess it was, or Friday. And he was just kneeling down, had a plastic bag. He was by himself. They just dropped him off. I don't know where he was getting water or anything else, but he was out there. And I thought, how long can you just bend over and just pick those weeds out, just one right after another? And he was putting them in the bag. That's incredible work. But in this moment, this was the command of the Lord. Make this valley full of ditches. The low place that you're in, I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you're going to need to make it lower than this, because the promise I'm going to give you has to have a place when it does come. All right? Now, this is what he said. You're not going to see wind. You're not going to hear the rain. you're not going to experience anything, but this valley is going to be full of ditches. Full of water. The water's coming. I was thinking, they feel like the water that came down probably came down from the mountains of Seir, which was probably 75, 80 miles away. You can hear thunder on a good, clear, open space. You can hear thunder for about 10 miles max. But 70 miles away, something was going to happen. Maybe even 100 miles, some commentators say. Something was going to happen. And they wouldn't hear one thing. They wouldn't see any wind blowing. Their command was, get ready for it. Some of us get so wrapped up in the method in which God's going to do something that we can't be ready for the miracle of what God's going to do. Because we're not seeing it happen in our life. We're not hearing it happen in our life. We think it's not happening. But thus saith the Lord, get ready for it. Get ready for it. Somebody shout glory. But that's not all the miracle. God's not only going to provide, but he's going to do something else. They didn't even ask for this. He's going to deliver the Moabites into your hands. What do you mean by that? All we need is water right now. We'll handle that problem. No, you're not going to handle the problem because you can't handle the problem. You've numbered yourself and you're outnumbered. I'm just telling you, if you'll make this valley full of ditches and you'll get ready from what I'm going to send, I'm going to give the Moabites into your hand. Now, I'm sure there were people saying, how in the world is the shovel going to replace the sword or the spear? I have a sword here somewhere that somebody had given me that had been on the mission field. Man, I know the boys would love this. My grandsons, I had to put this up because there's just something that boys like about a sword. They really do. Swords, knives, anything that's deadly and dangerous, they like it. And so here they go. These are soldiers. Man, they've got their armor on. They've got everything that they need. This is the battles that we fought in. These are the battles that we won. You've seen those generals when they get, especially in foreign countries and stuff, they'll have medals that'll go all the way down the front, Colonel. They'll have medals that go all the way down the front. It's like, is all this necessary? All the theaters, I guess, that they were in. I think they feel like the more they have of that, the more superiority that they have. But you can trump all of that with the 5-star general, and all he's got to have is just the little wings or the little stars on his shoulder. But they think that's really something. And here's these guys, they're ready to go. And he said, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the valley full of ditches. Can you imagine swordsmen and those that had the spears and those that were fighting men that knew this is how we fight battles. This is how we fight our battle. This is exactly what we do. We've got something here that'll take care of this. But this right here is going to die with you because you don't have what is really necessary. And that is the water, the miraculous ingathering of water. You don't have the miracle. So your little method is not going to work. It's not going to happen with your method. And so he said, well, what are we going to do? And this was the thing that was so amazing right here. Okay, all you guys put your swords up. Hey, all you guys get ready. Here's what we're going to do. Can you imagine when somebody brought the wagon up and they opened it up and all it had was spades and shovels? And they said, hey, fellas, guess what? This is our next step in this thing. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to make the valley full of ditches. It's 105. The other day we got in our pickup and it said 111 is what the temperature was. I know that probably wasn't even the heat index. Now they got a heat index, the humidity. And in Houston, I don't care. You can say it's only 99. No. In Houston, it's way above that. And so they're in the desert. It's in the heat of the day. And somebody says, here you go. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to make room for this. There's water coming. This is the way this is going to happen. Well, I don't see a cloud like a man's hand. I don't see anything that's happening. Well, the prophecy from Elijah was, you're not going to hear anything. You're not even going to feel the wind. It's a beautiful thing whenever you're out somewhere and the wind starts blowing and you look in the distance, you hear the thunder and it's coming, and then it gets close enough you can smell it. You know how that smells, that fresh smell? Hey, it's fixing to rain. Man, it's coming. They're standing out there and there's not a cloud in the sky. There's nothing happening. And they've got a spade in their hand and it's nothing but dirt. And they've got to take that shovel, and they've got to move that out of the way in the very, very worst of time. This is what the Bible said, that in the morning, water came by the way of Edom. That moment in that time, that miracle came in the morning. We were singing about it today. It just fit right in with what we're talking about here. Overnight, they didn't hear it. They didn't feel it. But what their job was the day before was to prepare for it. I could see men right then. How deep are you going? Because a lot of people just want to know what exactly that they have to do. Now, Pastor, when you talk about giving, what can we get by with? Well, how much water do you want? Because that was what somebody finally woke up to. Well, I'm just going to go 2 feet. I noticed old John over there, I could just barely see the top of his head because he's preparing for that little ditch to fill up. And the problem that we have in the modern church today is there's no room for the miraculous. We're filled up with stuff. We're filled up with stuff. Oh yeah, we'd like to have things, but we already have things. And so we're so full. And that's why we can hear messages like we heard last week that Brother Creekmore preached, a masterpiece of a message, and not even be moved. The Bible said the full soul loatheth the honeycomb. In other words, it despises the sweetest part of honey, and that's the comb, because you're filled up. But to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. It's time for this church to get hungry for something more than just church. By the way, this right here, this shovel, is the one that we use to turn over the dirt to build this building. And on the day that we turned the dirt over using this one, right here, this spade, we gave the mission offering. We didn't take up an offering for the church. We took up a record offering for missions and gave that to places that are not even, we'll never see the people until we get to glory. But we use this to turn it over. Well, I thought at that moment, hey, there's a smarter plan. There's another way to do it. No. It's moving dirt. Some of you will never have anything until you can move the dirt out of your life. You're living in the dirt. You're just sitting there constantly. It's time for you to put the sword up and get out something that'll move everything out of the way so that you can have the miracle in your life. Let's quit fighting and get to digging. Let's quit fighting and get closer to God. Let's quit fighting and get on our face before the King and have something that the Lord wants us to have, because this is the day. We're not going to hear it. We're not going to see anything. We're not going to feel it. All of a sudden, we're going to wake up and water's going to flow. Almost. Hang on. Our job is not to hear. Our job is not to feel. Our job is to prep. Get ready. You know, the miracle that came, the promise that was made, has got to be accompanied by preparation. See, there were soldiers that would rather fight than dig. A lot of times we feel like that. Almost like it's beneath us. I really can't do that. You know, one time I put up a fence in our backyard, one of our first houses that we lived in, and I don't know how I got this. My dad's like this, but I saw how fences are put up. I could put it up. The thing I wasn't prepared for is digging the post hole. I had a post hole digger. Now they have some things that work a little better than that. But it's one of those contraptions. Some of you guys know this. Got two handles on it just like this, and then two, and you throw that thing in the ground. How many of you men ever use one of these? Oh yeah. Well, that's a thimbleful. You know, and this old gumbo that we're here, that's what they call this old soil. It's so hard to get that down. And man, I worked, and then I was only about this deep, and it's got to go deeper than that because you got to put the concrete around it and got to get all that ready. And somebody said, hey, there's another thing you can do, and they started showing me how to do it in a better way. But when you start deciding to dig, it's going to be tough. It's going to feel hard. It's going to be easier for you to have your sword out and just be whacking on things that get in your path. But you're not going to survive like that. You got to have that miracle of God. This is where God joins in with you. This is where God gets involved with you. This is where God lets things happen, not to you, but He happens for you. And then it wasn't long after that they began to dig, and I'm sure there was complaints. See, they didn't want to rely on spears. They didn't want to mess with spades. You said, Pastor, you think, they were soldiers. You think they were okay with what they were doing? No. People are all people. I don't care where you go. There were people that second-guessed. There were people that wondered. There were people that criticized the captain that told them to dig. But there were enough people that said, if this is coming, and it comes down from where they say it's going to come from the way of Edom up there. If it comes up from Seir, it's going to be flowing pretty quick. This is what they deal with in the hill country and other places, flash flooding. Because it doesn't go into the soil. It just goes over it as fast as can be. For 1 minute, you can be in 5 foot of water, and in just moments, it'll be a trickle. Because it's just passing through. And somebody said, if this is coming that they say it's coming, something's got to retain this. Somehow we've got to be ready for this. And they not dug what they did dig. Then when that water flowed during the nighttime, they didn't hear it. No thunder. Nobody got up with a lamp and said, hey, it's coming. They woke up in the morning and there was water. If they hadn't prepared during the night, it would have passed them by. I ask you, how many blessings pass you by in service because you've never put the spade in the ground and said, let me get down here where I can get something else from the Lord. Let me shovel and get rid of all of this unrighteousness. Get rid of all the worldliness in my life. Get rid of all the division in my life and get prepared because something's going to flow through. And when it does, I want it. I want it. I'm hurrying. But beyond the water supply, this is what is so amazing. Beyond the water supply, there was going to be defeat of the enemy. The Lord just kind of threw that in. I better move this over here. If I mess up the platform, Sister Macey may keep me from preaching anymore. We had a preacher that was preaching at a youth thing one time, and he had some kind of big brick, and he dropped it over here. Gouged a big thing out of that. We docked his check. No, we didn't. But I don't want to hurt it. It was almost as if the Lord just kind of threw that in. Oh, and by the way, y'all going to defeat the Moabites. With water? With this? Yeah, you're going to do that. If you'll dig and you'll get prepared, make this valley full of ditches. If you'll go ahead and put in the work. Because when you stick that in the ground and you throw that spade and you begin to dig, what you're saying is, this is a faith motion. I'm not seeing it. I don't like how it feels. It's burning me up. I'm sweating. I've got my sword over there. This is beneath me. I'm a soldier. I'm not a shoveler. This is all beneath me. But every time you turn that spade over, there's a God in heaven that's saying, that's a preparation because I'm going to fill that up. I'm going to make a way for that. I'm going to prepare that. You prepare it, I'll feel it. You prepare it, I'll feel it. And the Moabites are going to be defeated. See, this is the thing. It's not enough to just get your need met. Aren't you sick and tired of the thing that plagues you all the time? The Moabites, of course, if you ever read the Bible, it's all of those ites that you just can't like them. The Hittites, the Jebusites. In our world, it's the parasites. Oh, it's all the sites. But the Moabites were always plaguing the people of God. And the Lord said, if you'll do what I'm telling you, if you'll get prepared, and I bring this water, I'm going to defeat Moab too. What do you mean? How are you going to do that? Listen, it's not enough to just come and drink the water and say, woo, man, we had victory. And we have this all the time. We're baptizing people every service. God's doing grand and glorious things. All that stuff is so wonderful. But listen, do you want the total vanquishing of your enemy? Do you want that to be defeated? Or do you want every time you turn around you need another miracle because there he's back again? Or do you want to know, like it was in the days of the Egyptians, they just kept pestering the people of God. And when they go into the Red Sea, they decided they're going to follow him. But the prophecy had already been given that the Egyptians you see this day, you will see them no more forever. Listen to me. The Egyptians that are following you, that's been tormenting you all these years, I'm fixing to handle it. You're not just going to be delivered going through the Red Sea. Those that you see there, you're not going to see them anymore forever. Oh, my Lord, how in the world? Forever! Forever! And when Moses put his hands down, and the waters came over the Egyptians, the chariot wheels fell off. They couldn't get out. The water was coming in, and they decided to escape. But the Lord loosed, the Bible said, the Lord made bare his arm. I like that. The Lord didn't fight anything. He just rolled his sleeves up. He made bare his arm. And the chariot wheels started falling off, and the horses fell. And there they were. They couldn't get out. They were in the middle. They were pursuing God's people. And he'd already said, you're not going to see them anymore forever. And when that water came back in, they were standing on the seashore, those Israelites, and they were wondering what's happening to them. And all of a sudden, every wave brought another dead problem. Every time the waves came in, there was another dead enemy that washed up on the sand, and they started rejoicing. This is the end of this. Wouldn't you like to get to a place where you don't have to fight that battle anymore? You don't have to deal with that circumstance anymore. You don't have to keep listening to that anymore. It's completely gone out of your life. That's what God's planning to do. And I'll say this as the musicians come. Bring the minstrels. Sometimes we only ask for the need to be met. And God's promising an enemy vanquished. Put your sword down and grab your spade. Lay aside your spear. Pick up the shovel. Move some dirt out of your life and prepare for the promise of God. Well, how's he going to defeat it? This is the craziest victory story. Moab had an incredible army. Matter of fact, when they heard that the three kings were coming out against them, they got everybody that could wear a shield or a piece of armor. They got everybody. I don't know if that was 16 years old, 18, 21. I don't know what the age was, but it was every able-bodied man had to go. They had a massive army. And here they come. They outnumbered God's people. In the morning when the water came, where the preparation was made, those pools that they had made, they were still there when they woke up. That other water had flowed on by, but man, it was massive. That whole valley was full of ditches, and it was just solid water as far as the eye could see. They're going to drink that day. The cattle's going to drink. Everything's going to be okay. God's brought us through. God's brought us out. But there's Moab on the mountain, and it's just waiting for them. Come on over here if you want to. We're standing here at our border, and we're going to take you out. But the Bible said that when they woke up in the morning, God's people saw miracles, and the Moabites saw a mirage. Because the Bible said they looked out, and it looked like blood. Think about that miracle. Here's people rejoicing. Oh, we got the miracle. And the Moabites are looking out and saying, it looks like blood to me, all in the valley. The light shining on it. They said, you know what's happened? Those three kings got in odds with each other, and they've been fighting one another, and they're all slain. Let's go down there. We don't even have to worry about it. Let's go down and take great spoil. This is what the Bible said. We don't have to fight anything. Let's just go down. And the minute they come down, they're not even armed. They're not even worried. They're just going to take everything away from the people that are laying out there in the battlefield dead. And when that moment came, the people of God rose up, and they smote them, and they killed every one of them, and they burned their cities, and they vanquished them completely, and they annihilated them. Because, listen to me, when you see it, it's going to be a miracle. But to your enemy, it's going to be destruction. Stand with me. Woo! It's going to be your destruction. Well, how deep do I need to get my life going? Well, however much water you want. Well, Pastor, if it's victory to us, isn't the enemy going to see victory? They sing it all the time. I want to see a victory. I'm going to see a victory. The battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm going to see a victory. But what does the enemy see? Well, at night, when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, what they saw was they saw the cloud that was going to lead them, and it showed them the way, and it protected them. But when the Egyptians saw it, it was a hindrance to them. Same cloud, it seemed, but just different sides of the fight. The enemy is going to see this day in another light. And just today, I told Sister Macey this. We were in a restaurant yesterday, and she said, there's a light that's shining on a car out there, and it's coming in. That little place over there, Los Cucos. And she said, it's reflecting through your glasses, and I can't hardly see. And so she was trying to get me to put my head in the right place. Man, that's really hard to do. Okay, how's that? Give me some more of that enchilada, you know. But hear this. I'm standing here, and through those doors in that window is that door that goes to the outside. Out there is a truck or car that the light's shining on. Can you see it on me here? Yeah. It's shining right at me. To me, that's light. But to the enemy, he saw blood. What a change that was. Same water. But it was the water that would have flowed through the camp during the night, except somebody dug down to get prepared for it. Husbands, wives, are you digging so your family can be sustained? Are you making the kind of decisions with Calvary consciousness? Are you doing these things because you want to see something that lasts? Or are you just interested in something that just flows by and say, woo, look at that. Don't get in it. Turn around. Don't drown. Every one of those flash floods in the hill country, they'll tell you low water crossing. And if there's raining, it don't have to rain right there. It can rain way up north. But as it flows through there, it can get enough to sweep every houses and everything out of the way. But it don't last all day. It don't last all week. It goes so fast, right over those rocks. And then you can drive right across that little low water crossing bridge. I've done it many times up around Dripping Springs and some of those places. If you don't prepare, what God is sending is going to flow right past you. And you're going to be envious of people that God has done things for. And you're going to say, how did they get that? It's because they had a place that was prepared for it. And I said, it's a place that's prepared for it. If you feel like you want to get ready for that, why don't you grab your family by the hands? Come up here and kneel here with me. And let's talk to the Lord and say, Lord, let me dig this out of my life. Let me get all of these old thoughts out of my head. Let me get all of this dirt out of my life. And let me get ready for that breakthrough that's coming, because God is sending it. Thus saith the Lord. Make the valley full of ditches. Yes. on, we can do it. Well, I don't know what I need to do. Just come on. Well, I don't know what I need to say. Just keep digging. Just keep digging. Lord, let me get this out. Lord, let me get less of me. Lord, let me do your will. Lord, I don't need more blessings first. I need more of this today. I need to move this out of my life. I'm letting everything get in the way. I got a miracle coming. I got to get ready for it because my enemy's going to be destroyed because of it. Yeah.
Move the immovable, break the unbreakable. God, we believe. God, we believe for it. From the impossible, we'll see a miracle. God, we believe.
Come on.
We believe.
I'm going to dig that up. I'm going to dig that out of my life. I'm going to stop all of that. I'm not going to live on the line. I'm not going to try to see what I can get by with. I'm going to see how deep I want to go. I want to go deeper. I want a miracle. I want something in my life that lasts. I want something that lasts.
Unbreakable, God we believe. God we believe for it. From the impossible, we'll see a miracle.
Come on, cry out to God.
God we believe.
I want something lasting. I want something lasting. Jesus, let us dig like we've never dug down before. Give us a church of depth. Give us a church of understanding.
You are the way when there seems to be no way. We trust in you, God. You have the final say.
Start with me, Jesus.
The way when there seems to be no
Start with me, Jesus.
We trust in you, God. You have the final say.
Oh, yeah. Move it. Break the unbreakable. God, we believe. Jesus. God, I want to dig that out. I want to dig out a bit. I want to dig out hurt. I want to dig out the past. I want to dig out unbelief. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, Jesus. Break the unbelief. God, we believe for it right now. Come on, cry out to Him. You can keep crying out to Him. Move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. Move this out of the way, Lord. In Jesus' name. Yes, Jesus. You said it. Get the dirt out of me. Get the dirt out of me. Me, Lord. It is done. I'm going to move it. I'm moving it. I'm moving it. I'm going deeper, Lord. Let the water flow and stay. I believe it. going to have it. God, I believe for it. I dig that out, Lord. I move in that. I move that. I move that. I pray that there has been some seed that has been planted in your heart. And if you'd like to sow seed into this ministry, you can do so on all of our social media platforms, and you can watch us there as well. We look forward to seeing you in the days ahead. God bless you and your family.